الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق اجمعین الصلاة والسلام على عبده و رسوله حافظ سره و مبلغ رسالاته سیدنا و مولانا ابوالقاسم مصطفی محمد و علی اهل بیته الطیبین الطاهرین المعصومین اعوذ بالله من الشیطان الرجیم. Brothers and sisters, honorable scholars, salamun alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullah. Before I start, I would like to extend my condolences on the martyrdom of our beloved Imam Muhammad Jawad, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh, to all my dear brothers and sisters. Imam Jawad lived in this world for 25 years. And out of that 25 years, 17 years was duration of his imamat. Sometimes question comes to mind that how come an 8-year-old boy becomes an imam? Because when I look at the 8-year-old boys nowadays, I realize that they don't know, as we say, their right hand from their left hand. How come they become an imam? In year 2001, I had the opportunity to go to Hajj. And along with me was a couple of friends. One of them was Haj Samir Amiri, whom some of you know. Brother Haj Kazem know. He's one of the reciter of the Quran with the beautiful voice. He knows the whole Quran, and as a matter of the fact, when we were in Hajj, he recited the whole Quran 3 times for us. And another friend was Dr. Sahafi, which you probably know him from the Salam TV in old time. The next door to us, there was a gentleman who came from Iran with 2 sons. One of them was 7 years old and the other was 9 years old. Muhammad Bagher and Mushtaba, their name was. The reason I remember these 2 names after so many years, because these 2 boys, they knew the whole Quran by heart. Then at that time it became really clear to me, if a 7-year-old, and the nice thing was that the 7-year-old boy, you could tell him to recite, for example, Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 22, and he would recite it for you, 7 years old, with a very beautiful voice. The reason I mentioned that Haj Samir was with us and Dr. Sahafi, I wanted to tell you that I'm not lying. You can ask them. Thank you. So, tonight, Imam Saberi told me that it's going to be like a question and answer. If you, dear brothers and sisters, if you have any question for me, I would be glad to answer. But if not, I thought of a question that some of the youngsters nowadays, they ask. And that question is, of course, they all have lots of questions, that like why God created us, why our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he doesn't have a miracle like Jesus Christ had, to heal the blind or revive the deaf, why he doesn't have such a huge miracle and things like that, all these questions. And one of the things that nowadays we are responsible to do, to find the answer to these questions. Because if their question remains unanswered throughout, thank you so much, throughout their life, somewhere they're going to go to the wrong exit. But if we clearly answer their questions in a way that it makes sense, is logical, then they have, from the time that they're young, the faith would start seeding and growing in their hearts, and then they would never go wrong. And that's our responsibility, honestly, because with all the things that going on in today's world, if we close our eyes and said, oh, my kids are grown and I don't have to worry about things like that, we are responsible. We have to answer before God in the hereafter. And the way that Allah created this world, everything, every single thing in this world has an answer. If you don't know it, we need to go and find out. There is no answer that, somebody asked. In the old time, I remember when I was young, if I would have asked my father and say, or one of the elders in the family and say, why did God created us? He said, Astaghfirullah, what is this? What are you saying? Kuf.
Yeah.
And that's why you see, don't complain if you see some people, as in my age and stuff, and then they're not coming to the masjid, for example. Don't say why you're not coming to the masjid, because their grandfather, they didn't, bring this to exposure, so they know why God has created us, what's going on behind the scene and all those things. So one of the things that the kids are asking is about the miracle. And they're asking why Prophet, because in their mind, reviving a death is a huge thing. So they said if only Prophet Muhammad had such a miracle, it would be so great. At least in front of my classmate, I would say our Prophet did the same thing. So it might be a little bit heavy, this subject, but since I see some youngster here, I would like to say it in a way that is easy to digest. The word miracle, or in Farsi we call it mu'jize, means something that makes the other people helpless of doing it. It comes from ajz. When somebody do a mu'jize or miracle, other people they cannot do it. They are ajiz from doing that same thing. Some people, they say mu'jiza or miracle are things that can happen with no cause, with no reason. Because as a Muslim, we believe that with all the power that God has, God is so powerful that can do anything and everything. But when He created this world, He created the world based on formulas that we call cause and effect. Or in Farsi we call it illatu ma'lul. Meaning, anything that you see in this world, there is a reason behind it. There is a cause behind it. علت داره. هر چیزی که ما در دنیا میبینیم یه علتی داره. حالا شاید ما علتشو نداریم ولی یه علتی داره. This is one of the things that as a Muslim we should believe. And that's why you see most mathematicians, they believe in God, but most physicians, they don't. Then in general, I'm talking about. Because the mathematicians, they know the formula, the engineers, they know the formulas, they know things can happen without, cause and effect. And then when they look at the world, they realize that yes, there should be a reason behind things in this world. So some people, they say miracle are those things that are exception. Something happens with no cause. If everything has cause and illat, miracle has no cause. And then they say because God is most powerful, He can do it. There is no reason for a cause. This is wrong. Because if we believe in this, then we cannot prove anything else. Because if we say things can happen with no cause, with no illat, how do you want to even prove God? Because if you say things can happen with no illat, then somebody comes and says, yes, you're right. This world happened. This world was created with no cause. There was no illat behind it. And this is how we prove God. We say God is the cause of creation. So, I wanted to, because these are the belief that some people in the past they had, that yes, miracle is something that can happen with no cause. You know, you can throw the staff, the cane, and it become a snake. Then there is no reason behind it. God can do it. But then we need to remember that God create things with the cause, with something. You know, if a snake has to be created, has to have parents, that with the egg and all those things. Another thought is that some people they believe that miracle can happen, but the cause, the actual cause, can be replaced with something strange. Meaning there is a cause behind any miracle. But that cause is not the cause that God created to be the cause for it. Something else come and replace that. For example, if for a baby to be born, a mom and a dad is necessary to create a baby, these are the cause of creating a baby, God can change this. God can take any of this away and put some other things in their place. And please remember that any miracles that you read in the Quran are things that are possible. There are things in this world that are impossible. But miracles are not of those impossible things. Miracles are of the matters that are possible. Things that are impossible, for example, if I tell you, or we all know, that if you add the angles of a triangle, the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. It's impossible that when you add those three angles, it becomes 190 degrees or become 170 degrees. These are impossible. But there are things that are possible. For example, from the time that we were born, we always have seen that when you boil the water, when it reaches 100 degrees centigrade, it starts evaporating. Right? So do you think it's possible that at 60 degrees that can happen? Yes. Because the brain accepts this. They say, yes, there may be a situation, if the pressure is less than the normal pressure, you can change the temperature and water start boiling. So these are possible things. However, we don't see it happening on our daily life. Meaning, in our daily life, it has to be 100 degree centigrade temperature for the water to start boiling. Or in the past, something that you all have seen, like 60 years ago, 70 years ago, for a chicken to be born or to come to existence, there should be an egg, and a chicken to sit on that egg for 21 days. That was the normal cause of creation of a chicken. If 60 years ago, 70 years ago, I would bring a box, put the egg on it, and then after 20 days I open the door and you see the chicken comes out, you say, oh, this is a miracle. But it's not a miracle. Nowadays we all know that most of the chicken are coming out of the box. So what happened with the miracle is this. The cause that we see in our daily lives might not be the actual cause. There might be something else that we don't see. Our knowledge doesn't reach to find out what is the actual cause. The actual cause behind a creation of the chicken is the temperature. That egg has to be in a warm temperature to become a chicken. So all that chicken was doing, keeping the egg warm. So if I find a box that keep the temperature the same, chicken is going to be born and it's not a miracle. So, having said this, why God gave prophets miracle? We know that all the ulul azm prophets, they all had some kind of miracles. Some more, some less. But they all had miracles. The reason is because Allah knows us. If I come to you and I say I'm a prophet, I may not be lying. Maybe my brain is messed up. You have seen people that they see things, they say things that are not real, but they believe it themselves. I may come to you and I believe that I'm a prophet, and say I'm a prophet. How do you believe me? God said, I make it easy for people. Ask Him for a miracle. If He can do a miracle, it's from me. If not, no. Because there are people that nowadays, they say yes, especially with our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They say Prophet Muhammad doesn't need to have miracle. Why? Because miracle was for the ages that people were so simple. So they have to see a dead person come to life to believe in God. During the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, people were more educated, people were more grown intellectually. When they look at his words, when they look at the things that he was saying, they would realize that these all make sense. They don't need miracle. What do you say to that? Is that acceptable or not? No. Because there are lots of philosophers, lots of scientists that they say things that they are making perfect sense. But it's not from God. God wanted us to realize that these are from me, from God, not from this person, not from this scholar, not from... So therefore, every single prophet has to have miracle. So we should not fall for that, because these things that they say Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, doesn't need to have miracle, comes from two groups. One, from the groups that they are Muslim, but they believe that, okay, a Muslim are more advanced, they don't need to have a miracle to see a blind got cured. They can believe in God, but just by looking at the words in the Quran. Wrong. Because how do we know this is from God? God would say, look at this person, I'm going to do something through him, because miracle is not done through prophets or through people. It's done not by people, it's through them. Because miracles is done by God. God said, okay, I wanted to prove to you that this person is from me, so I have to come up with a miracle for him. Second group of people are those people who are against Islam. They come with some of the verses of the Quran, because there are verses in the Quran that when people, they ask Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they say, okay, do you want us to believe in you? Either make a huge garden, this is in the Quran, made a huge garden with the palm tree, and they mean in the middle of the Mecca, which is the desert. Or come up with the house that is filled with gold and silver. Or go to a sky, climb up to a sky, and bring a paper from God that said, oh people, this guy, I'm sending it to you. Write the letter. Ask God to write the letter and bring it down. Then Prophet Muhammad, to respond to these people, is saying that, what are you talking? I'm only a prophet. Some people, they take this translation in a wrong way. They're saying that Prophet Muhammad is saying that I'm only a prophet, I cannot do miracle. But that's wrong. Prophet Muhammad is saying that I am a prophet. Ask me for a miracle that a prophet can do. Don't ask for strange things that of no use. Ask me for miracles like the miracles that prophet can do. I'm only a prophet. Meaning, you people, you're cuckoo, for example. You're asking for me to climb to the sky and bring a letter. So when I bring that letter, you're going to say, oh, you wrote it down yourself. Ask me for things that prove my prophethood. Some people, they say, okay, Prophet Muhammad, we as a Muslim, we believe that Quran is the miracle of Prophet Muhammad. How do we prove this? This is in many chapters of the Quran that Allah said, especially I think the first one is in Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah said, if you don't believe in this person, bring a chapter like this book. Meaning, this is miracle. You cannot do it. This is the most clear reason that we know Quran is a miracle. And from 1400 years ago up to now, with all the genius, with all those enemies that they wanted to bring the Islam down, you could not even find one person to bring one verse similar to Quran. To say, okay, yes, I bring one verse similar to Quran. So it means it is a miracle. Some people, they say, why Prophet Muhammad has only a Quran as a miracle, nothing else. Of course, it is in the Quran. There are so many other miracles that Prophet Muhammad had. Allah said, I take my abd, my bande, from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa. Can anybody do that at night, in one night? With the vehicle that they had 1400 years ago? That's another miracle. Shaq al-Qamar, which we all is in the Quran. فَاخْتَرَبَ السَّاعَ وَشَقَّ الْقَمَرِ. The Prophet Muhammad cut the moon in half. So these are these are other miracles. But since we believe that Islam and Prophet Muhammad are the religion and the last prophet God had ever sent, Prophet Muhammad could not come with the miracle that is temporary. Prophet Muhammad has to come with the miracle that lasts forever. Because if Prophet Muhammad, for example, revived a dead person, would we see it today? No. Still people can doubt and say, I'm not sure if Prophet Muhammad had done that. Where is that person? Because in Jesus Christ's time, when he cured that person or when he revived that person lived for a short a period of time and then passed away.
And still they cured him.
Yeah, and because Prophet Jesus was for a certain period of time, so he could bring miracles that are temporary, or the effect of it, or the appearance of it could be for a certain period of time. But for us, or for Islam, or for our Prophet Muhammad, God had to send a miracle that is last forever. Sometimes, if you want to prove, if you don't want to tell your kids all these things, just tell them, go find a book that is not poetic, is not poem in it, and recite it with music. It's impossible that you can find any book other than Quran, because Quran is not poems, right? One verse is that short, one verse is one whole page, right? So how can you recite this not only in one kind of rhythm, with many kinds? Each reciter has his own style, like Abdul Basit, Manshawi, and all those, they have their own style with their own music, and it makes perfect sense. Like as if the waterfall is coming down. When you listen to those, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, it's like a waterfall. It's so soothing. So this is the easiest way to, that's a miracle by itself. That you find a book that is not poem, but you can recite it with different rhythm and different styles. Therefore, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wanted to send a miracle that lasts for as long as humanity exists, He sent that book. with all those beautiful things. The problem is, we as a Muslim, we left that book aside. We have every single of us has a miracle in our house, but as one of the honorable lady that we were talking before I come to the masjid, we only come to the masjid or think when there is a dead person, we take the Quran and say, okay, let's look at the Quran, see, if we can recite the Quran for him or for God. My friend was reciting the Quran and I asked him, I said, whom you recite this for? He said, for God. I said, God wrote this book. He doesn't need you to recite it for him. We have to recite this for ourselves and take the advantage of it. So one of the things that we have to do is to make sure in our household, make the reciting of Quran a routine thing. Once a week at least, we all gather, together and recite the Quran. Just by reciting it, there are blessings are going to come to our household. Just by reciting. Now imagine if we recite it and know what God is talking about and then practicing it. And then, unfortunately, I see, in our society, we go exactly against what Quran said. I was reciting the Quran the other day, and Allah said, O mu'minin or Muslimin, do not enter people's house without permission. And if you wanted to go to someone's house and you ask for permission and they didn't give you the permission, just turn back and go back. Right? We Muslims do that. If we go to someone's house and they said, I'm so busy today, can you come back tomorrow? We come to the masjid and make everything against that person. That, that person is so bakhil, that's jealous. I didn't want to eat anything. I just went to ask how he is doing, and this is starting, doing all the things that, Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Book of Quran said, when you want to make a contract, when you want to purchase something that is a long term, is not a cash payment, make sure to write it down. If you cannot write it down yourself, have someone else write it down for you. But I know most of my friends, when they make the contract, they just shake hand, I know you forever, I don't need to write it down. And then 2 months later, they start fighting. So if we go with what Quran said, we avoid all these things. That's about what I thought about the question myself. Now I'm open. If you have any question for me, I would be happy to answer. Haj Qasim or Mr. Mirafta.
What is the difference between miracle and a trick?
No, that's exactly my question. Between miracle and
trick, magician.
Magician. Yeah, that was my question.
Before I tell you that, let me rephrase this and make it even more complex. What is the difference between miracle, what we call it karamat? Because there are people that can do miracle, what we call it, they have karamat, and a trick, right? Karamat is a power that God gives to some people, that they perform that not to prove anything. They don't want to prove anything. They just, when by the permission of God, something needs to be done, they do it without any to prove nothing. To take the order of God and perform it. Miracle is something that Allah performs, Allah creates to prove something. To prove that this person is prophet. This book is from me. Like for Quran as we mentioned. Trick is something that is not real, but seems real to us. And they make it seem real. If you dig into it, you'll find that this is an illusion. But in any of those miracles, if you dig in really hard to say, okay, let's see if I can do it, it's absolutely impossible that you can do it. We may find out the cause behind it, but that cause is not in our power. I may find out, You know how Prophet Moses, when he threw the staff down, that became a dragon or a snake? This is what happened. Because like anything that happened in this world needs time and space. Meaning you need to have time and space to do something, right? But for God, time and space is immaterial. Like say, every second, like this universe, now we all know with the Big Bang Theory, the universe is expanding. This universe that we live in is expanding, and this is in the Quran as well, that Allah said we created this universe and we are expanding it. Expanding where? The question is expanding where? Is there any other space that this is expanding into that space? No. As the universe is expanded, God created time and a space for it. So time and space for God is not materialistic. Therefore, God can take the time away from anything that He wanted to create. Like for example, if you have an egg of a snake, it has to stay there for like so many days to become a snake. God can take that time away and then the egg immediately become a snake. And this is something that even nowadays is proven by quantum physics. Because you know that they say if you travel to an airplane and go a little bit above the atmosphere, the time there is different from the time on Earth. And they have proven this. You know that you probably have read this, that they put the watch on the pilot hand and the watch on Earth. And then when he came back down, they saw that his watch is behind. Same kind of watch that they had. And same thing, you know, in the black hole, there is no, in the black hole, there is no time at all. So, but for the tricks, if you dig in, if you go find, you know, you wanted to find out what is the cause, can you do it? You'll find that yes, you can do it. That's how we can make a difference. And for 1400 years or more than, for 3000 years, no people has not found out how those miracles has been performed. So, but with the cause, meaning there is a cause behind it, but nobody can do it. Even if they find out the cause, because this is performed by Allah Himself, that who is all powerful. So the answer, if somebody asks you, what is miracle and you know how those things are done, miracles are possible things that can be done, but not with the power that we have. Not with the power that we have, is in the hand of Allah.
But you just said even the prophet, the miracle happened without any cause. Now you say it happened with a cause. So I just said a little confused.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So sorry if I confused you, but at the very beginning I said if we say things can happen without the cause, then we cannot prove even God. Everything has to have a cause. Because if things can happen without the cause, how can you explain things to people? How can you prove there is a God? Right? Because we say God is the cause of this food. I'm saying that everything has to have a cause, including miracle. But the things, when we go dig in and find the cause, we cannot even do that. Even we know the cause, we cannot perform it. Because the hands of Allah has to be included. Because miracle is done to prove something. Karamat, no, people can do, you can do. And how do you reach that? When you are so close to Allah, you become like hands and eyes and, astaghfirullah, I'm not saying that God has hands and stuff, metaphorically. You become an extension of God. You can do the same thing that God can do, so then that's what, but the problem with us is, we don't do those things. We don't try to get close to Allah. You know, when for example, if Brother Kazem or Ajmir Aftab come and say, you know, our masjid needs help and stuff, all of a sudden all the shaitan comes to me and say, I need help myself too. You know, but then we don't think like this. We say, okay, imagine, I always imagine this about myself. I say if I was a poor person, homeless, on the middle of the street, Someone came to me and said, you know what? I like you. I wanted to give you house, car, job, everything. I even find you a wife. However, I want you to daily go and give just 20% of these things that I'm giving to you to that other person. I would say I give 50% of what you're giving to me. But with Allah, we don't do that. You know? And then those people who can make karamat and make things out of ordinary, Allah would say, okay, you believe in me, you have faith in me. You know that everything that I've given you is from me, so freely you go and give it to other people that I wanted you to give. So then I'll give you extra things. Those karamat comes when you have true faith. True faith. And I don't know if you heard the story of that, if it's a story or not, but it has a good moral to it. They say there was two villages that people, they were living in each village, but the school was in only one of the villages. So the other village, they have to travel, come to this other village to go to a school. Between the two villages, there was a river, and there was a bridge that the student has to go. For example, if that village is there, this village is here, and there is a river, the bridge is right there. So the people have to travel, go that way, cross the bridge, and come back this way. So one of the students from that village was always late. And the teacher at one time got really upset with him and said, why you're always late? He said, well, teacher, I have to travel from that distance, go cross the bridge, and come back here, so it takes me time. The teacher wanted to mock him, make fun of him. He said, can you just say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and walk through the water, walk over at the top of the water? Starting the next day, that student was never late. He was always on time. Until one time, the teacher and the student, they wanted to go and visit his village as a field trip. When they were walking, so of course they had to go that way to cross the bridge. The teacher said that this guy is going this way. He said, where are you going? You're going to fall in the river. He said, no, I'm not going to fall in the river. I always come through this river at the top of the river. You told me, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and come on the top. I always do that. So you do the same thing, let's go. The teacher said, the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim that you can say, I can never say that. When you say things with 100% faith, is way different from, if you go and start your prayers with the love for Allah. When you're happy that it's time for prayers, that the time for prayers comes, then that's when Allah brings you into His circle. But when, like me, I say, oh, it's time of prayer again. Let me go do the prayer so I'll be free. Then, of course, Allah is going to say, okay, just stay where you are. So, now, if any of the brothers and sisters, you have any other question, yes, please.
What is your explanation about the Indian mortars? It doesn't go to karama category and doesn't go to the miracle.
Excellent question. Excellent question. And very related. When I talked about possible things and impossible things, there are so many things in this world possible that has nothing to do with miracle, that has nothing to do with karamat, that has nothing to do with anything that we discuss. It has to do with practice. These Indian mortals that you have heard, they can keep their breath for hours. They do not breathe. They just stay like a dead person. Then when they decide to breathe, they start breathing. Or they can stay awake for many hours, days and nights. Or they can just not eat for months.
Work over the fire.
Yeah. And then when they decide to eat, they eat and they come back. These are the things that, remember when I talked about things that are possible? There are so many things possible. But since from the time that we have born, we saw one routine to things, we think there is nothing else but this. You have to eat in the morning, at 10 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, and until the stomach is so full, then you can go to sleep. But no, honestly, our body doesn't need much. So if you start, those people, they start practicing. Sheikh Taghei, okay, you all know, who made that Manar Jamban in Isfahan, he was one of the Urafa. And then in his history, in his biography, they said that in 1 month of Ramadan, he only ate 1 date at every iftar. For the whole month, 1 date at every iftar. So some of the ulama in Isfahan read this biography and said, this is impossible. This is a total lie. Person cannot just eat 1 date every night. Who wrote this? This is a lie. Then Sheikh Taghei came to his dream. And he said, I think you're upset with me, to this alim, or to this scholar. He said, yes, I am, because they wrote something wrong about you. Is it possible that, person not to eat anything but just a date for a whole month? Sheikh Taghei said, yes, it is possible. He said, but people will die. He said, people don't die. Animal will die. Adam nemimire. Hayvan mimire. And there are so many possibilities. Even sometimes you watch one of these shows in TV, you see what people can do, that you're just amazed. How do they do that, these things? Well, I'm a couch potato here, I can't do any of those things. But if you practice, you can do these things. These are possible things that God put in people's power with no privilege. These are not the privilege. Those things that the mortals, they can do, those are the things that anybody can do. I have a friend which lives in Orange County. He went to one of these classes that they teach strange things. Now he can, in his power, he can make one of his hand totally cold, that when you touch it, you think it's a meat that comes out of the freezer. With practice, he kind of discontinued the circulation of the blood with his mind. Because the mind is I want to say strange things, but it's amazing things. It can we use only maybe 1% of our brain for daily activity. 99% of it, if we start using it, we can do those things that when people look at it from outside, like myself, we say, oh, this is a miracle. But no, it's not a miracle. That's just with practice. Like anybody else who do other things, they practice, they can lift weight or things that I cannot do. Those, they do the same thing. Practice.
But how we humans, without any knowledge, distinguish between the real and the fake one? I mean, if anything can happen, how you explain, but how can we know between the karamat and mortazan and this kind of
That's very hard. Mr. Ajmirov is asking a good question. They say if somebody comes and did something like those mortars, how do I know this is something that God put in him to do, or is one of those practice things? Those are really hard to find out, especially nowadays that lots of, the people, they start opening a shop and showing, I have a karamat, come and I'll give you this, I'll give you that, and we fall for it and we get fooled for it. So that we have to be careful, because one of the things that I create for myself, if that person charges for money or gets some advantage, it's definitely a trick. Because those people who have really karamat, first of all, they don't do it for no reason. Because they say, هر که را اسرار حق آموختن، مهر کردند و دهانش دوختند. اونایی که those people who learn how to do those things, they don't come and show off. But if they are coming and showing off and say, I can do this, I can do that, and stuff like that, you have to question them. Any other question? It doesn't have to be related to this, but I think time is over, right?
One thing you can do is, you ask the person to, if it's Prophet, do this. Not he say, I can do this. That way, people ask, split the moon. And then he split the moon.
Right.
It was not the other way, I split the moon and then you can see. So it could be a illusion.
Yes.
But people asked Prophet to do something and then he did it.
Yes, yes. And of course, that when God decides to send those miracles, is the time, is the perfect things that He sends for people to realize that this is a miracle. I think, if there is no other question, I'll conclude my or whatever the question and answer. Inshallah, you keep me in your prayer. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin. You do the dua.
Thank you very much.
زيارة. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا علي أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا إمام الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا الله من عوانك وانصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اضافه دادی بعد حسابات درست